Hello everyone, I'm Apurva the Book Hunter, and I'm back again after a long time. And I've got a really interesting non-fiction book that's based on historical events. So this is Blood Island, written by Deep Halder, subtitled An Oral History of the marichjhapi Massacre. So, guys, I was really excited when I saw the title of this book, and I actually pre-ordered this one. It costs 400 Indian rupees, and it's from HarperCollins. It's really costly, considering 170 odd pages, but I pre-ordered this thing and I was really excited about this one. How I felt after reading this book, so I'll tell you how I felt, but before that I'll tell you about the content of this book. And for those who don't know about the marichjhapi incident, let me tell you a little bit of the history. So in 1970s, during the refugee crisis, millions of people crossed over from Bangladesh into the West Bengal to avoid communal riots and wars and stuff like that. So they settled in different parts of the West Bengal, but the society, the people of West Bengal, and the government, they didn't want them. Had really little resource to provide for these people, and they relocated them to different refugee camps across Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Maharashtra. These were basically tribal areas, hilly areas, barren lands, and the refugees, they did not want to settle there because that was some alien land for them. They didn't belong to those places. They were used to living in lush green Ganges basin, and they had difficulty in livelihood in these refugee camps, so they wanted to go back. And the leftist government, in fact the leftist party, the Communist Party, they promised that when they get the power in the government, they are going to relocate them in different parts of the West Bengal. So however, that did not happen because the communists are great liars, at least in West Bengal. So the people, they started to rebel, and tens of thousands of them came back to West Bengal, and they settled in a small island in Sundarban, that's Marichjhapi. It's a part of the ecological reserve now, and actually thousands of people settled in that small island, and they created their own township. They really cleaned that place up. They cut a lot of trees that was against the rules and all that, and in fact they defied the state government. So that was a great crime uh, done by them, according to then leftist government. And as a result, the government took action against them. They forcefully evicted all the settlers there. There were a lot of human rights violation, killings, arson, rapes, and in fact there are actually, it's been claimed that thousands of people died on this island during the forceful eviction. And a lot of the claims that's been made, actually they're backed. In fact, there are a lot of newspaper articles that you can read on the internet that will tell you about that. And there's a lot of there's a lot of claim that actually the people who settled there, they were like low caste peoples, and at that time the society was not as moderate or as liberal as it is right now. So there was a lot of caste problems, and it's been claimed that the Namashuddhas, the lower caste people who lived there, who settled there, they were well the they were treated badly because they did not belong to upper caste, and the government favored the upper caste. So that's basically the history of the whole thing. The book is in fact not a history of not a history of the incident. It's basically a different angle. It's basically the interviews of different people who are related to the whole incident or the whole movement, and there are witnesses who were present on the island during the whole situation. So it's a different sort of a book. It's the author himself, he says that this is humanitarian stories. He collects these stories from people who tell you about the horrors that happened on marichjhapi. So that's about the content of this book, and I have to say with much pleasure that the leftist government, the communists, are taken to the cleaners in this book, and I absolutely love it. So but the thing is that, guys, as I was expecting a lot from this book, and I was really excited about this book, I have to say I'm really sorely disappointed with this book. The reason behind this is mainly because it's the narrative. Really, the narrative doesn't really go anywhere. It tries to be a lot of things but it just tries to piece together a lot of stories, interviews, and the thing is that the narrative doesn't hold strong. It's just so loose. It feels loose. It drifts a lot, and the tone is really flat. At one time, it just, for example, there are a lot of interviews, mainly interviews in the author's own recollections or reminiscence, but there's also a part where there's a story of a certain person and his father's history with the whole marichjhapi incident, and that's being overtly dramatic for some reason and doesn't fit well, and it's written poorly. That's one thing. Then there comes the thing of bias. So it's really full of biases. The author is biased about the whole thing, so he cannot make this book. The book is not an impartial. It's not an impartial writing. That's a big problem. For me, it's a big problem. And the thing is that also there are a lot of things that I said. I mean, when you're saying that thousands of people died on the island, there had to be some sort of witness who really can testify that actually 1,000 people died on that. Obviously, hundreds of people died. In fact, considering the leftist government, I'd say they probably killed thousands of people there. But none of the witnesses, none of the interviewees, they can testify to this fact, and this is where really the narrative kind of falls apart. There are a lot of claims of human rights violation in there, and they are actually true. I think there are a lot of articles and a lot of papers and research material that you can find on the internet that testified to this thing, and I really believe them because I have lived under the left regime for some time and I absolutely loathe them. But the thing is that I think the writing should have been better. It's just bits of pieces which don't come together, so it falls flat. It just falls flat. A lot of unscientific things are also introduced in this book. For example, Mr. Manoranjan Vyapari, he says he claims that the man-eaters of Sundarban are man-eater because they ate the corpses of marichjhapi, which is, I'm not sure that's scientific. I don't think it's scientific. So that and the bias of the author, that really makes it really poor reading. I don't know. It's not as bad as that probably, but I can't get my head around the fact that the writing is not that good. I'm sorry. It's just the material was enough. I think, yeah, it had enough to punch the leftist government in the face. That kind of writing it could have been, but it isn't. So sorry, I can't really recommend this book highly. If you really want some insight into the whole incident, some humanitarian story that you want to know, that's okay. You can read this book, but the kind of expectations I had with this book, it doesn't really come through. I mean, I'm not actually pleased with the book. That's it for today, guys. Oh yes, I forgot to mention that there's a golden line in there. Jyoti Basu, when Mr. Manoranjan Vyapari, he says, Jyoti Basu is the offspring of a pig. I'm really elated with that. I absolutely love that line. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's it for today. Apurva the Book Hunter signing out. See you another time with another video.